Hi, my name is Jeff Rhodes, and this is another video on Microsoft 365. And today we're going to talk about a solution that's kind of like Reservations. So if you've used the Bookings app, a little bit like that. But if you wanted to implement that functionality where you have a set of reservations where people can sign up for particular spots, and then when they're already taken up, they go off the board, if you will, and then have a way to cancel your reservation as well. So it's not actually in my book, but if you haven't checked it out, I'd ask you to do that, and let's get started. So rather than you watch me build a SharePoint list, I thought I'd build, the general one we wanted. So it's a standard list. I've got an appointment date, and then I've gone ahead and just changed the view to show the modified by. So I've made 3 appointments. And the idea is that we're going to do a Power Apps where the user can pick one of these spots and say subject and put some comments. We'll change the status away. It defaults to available. And then we'll write who the participant is. So the idea that somebody can sign up for somebody else, maybe an administrative assistant. And then we're going to do some functionality when it comes time to edit the appointment or delete it, that you can either, if you're the modified or if you're the participant, you could go in and see it, but other people can't. So let's give that a shot. So I'm going to start right from scratch in Power Apps. So let's create a new one. I'll do a blank app here. I'm going to do a blank Canvas app. And I'm just going to call it Reservations. I'm going to make it a tablet. And first thing I'm going to do is come in and add data. So let's go ahead and say SharePoint. And hopefully it'll find the right site. I think it's that one. Yeah, I've done a lot of theirs is Reservations. Okay, so we connect there. Let's come over here. I'm going to rename this screen to be, we'll call it Home, and I'll eventually have another screen, so might as well just insert it now. We'll just say it's blank, and we'll give it reservation, or we'll just say modify appointment, we'll say. Alright, so let's get going. The main thing we want to do is I'm eventually going to have a button, so I'll go ahead and put this one up here. And we'll say, I'll call it existing appointments. Make that a little wider. Move that back over. There we go. So normally I'd have a nice header and stuff, but I don't want you to have to watch me do all that. So let's go ahead and put a gallery in here. And we'll do it that way. Connect it to Reservations. And then I'll come over here and edit. We don't... Oh, I do the layout's what I want. And I'll do it more like that one. And what I want it to be, notice I did the subject, but I want this to be the appointment date. And, it gives it okay, but let's do a little bit of manipulation here. So I'm going to use the text, and we'll tell it that we know this is a date-time value. So that gives us a date, and then if you've looked at this, then we can give it kind of the standard string. So we can do this to spell out the day of the week, 3-letter, the month, the compiler month, the day, the year, and then do a time stamp here. So AM/PM. So you can look that up. There we go. And maybe move that up a little bit. Make this a little bit bigger, and we'll do one more. And all the lengths are the same right now, but I want to build it in there, so just in case oh yeah, we gotta say this item dot appointment length. So we'll say length. Remember the ampersand being the concatenate operator, and we'll make it clear it's minutes. It kind of should be obvious, but there we go. Maybe I'll put a colon in there. All right. One other thing I like to do is I like to show which is selected. So you've seen this in other videos, but I'll come in here and say, go to the fill, basically just cut that for a minute. And so if this item dot is selected, so that's a true or false. If it is, I'll just make it yellow. Otherwise, I'll paste that back in, which is white. And we can do it that way. So, all right. So got some. So that allows us to see. Now, notice right now we're seeing all reservations. So instead, we want to filter this. And in particular, so we filter, and as you might see with the IntelliSense, we've got several logical ones. So we can, the first one we want to do is say that the status, the status is right, equals available. And let's see why we've got a problem there. All right, so we got to say dot value here. So that one does first, gives us those, but that's not all that we want. The other one is we don't want anything in the past. So we'll use the and we want to say appointment date is greater than now. Well, we could use now or we could use today, but what I like about now is that if they were doing for this afternoon, now gives the date and time. So it would be okay if they were appointment 5 minutes from now, we want them to be able to sign up for it. So that's the appropriate. Today would basically be like 12 a.m., midnight or whatever. So so that limits us. And what we'll be testing is after we pick an appointment, then for other people it should come off this list, or even for ourselves because it's already been booked. All right, the other thing I like to do on these galleries, and normally I'd rename it, but I don't want to take the time. I like to say on select, so on that event, and I'll set a variable, set var selected appointment, and we'll say gallery 1 dot selected. And that just allows us to use variables in there that we want. All right, so what do we do next? I'll often use a gallery as well for like picking the participant, because that's what I have to do, but it's also fine and a little less work to go ahead and just use the combo box. So let's go ahead and just use the combo box for this. Oh, and we don't want reservation, so let's put this over. Whoops, we want it to be. So I'm getting that little drop down box there that I don't want. And well, this will be our participant. So let's just make it, I'll just make it nice and big like that so we can see it. I'm not going to take the time to put labels on it today, but we need another data source. So we want to come in here and say add data, and we'll say Office 365 users. And then now we can come over here and we'll say the items. We'll say Office 365 users search user. I usually take the latest one, so we want to notice the brackets here. So you want to say search term Alright, so it's not all that clear what to use here, but I believe it will work if I take the combo box itself and say search text, like that. And then I'll usually say top 50, and then make sure we close the brackets, and then close overall. So that should allow us to do it. So let's play and see if that one works. Yeah, so let's type in, I think my wife Sue is in there. So if I say Sue, no, it's not working, is it? So let me pause for a minute. All right, I'm back. Sometimes I have to look these up again and look at my own videos, but or at least example applications. So I needed one more thing. I needed to come up and grab the value here. So that gives us a table, you know, so and we're searching for the search text. And then I had to go set up the combo box itself. So let's go into that a little bit. So I have to click on that. Make sure I go to Properties and then Advanced. Okay, so I can scroll down here, and then I needed, it doesn't default to the display name. So you want to put the display name both as the display field and the search text, and then be sure that you change, I said select multiple to false because I only want one participant. And then I had to say, whoops, it is searchable. I thought I set that to true, but it looks like it went back to false. So let's put that back to true. There you go. Let's try it now. So we can come in and I can search. It's just all my family in there. Actually got a sample user and a tester, and then if I type in Sue, it searches and like that. Okay, so we found that, like I said, or you can use this model with a search box and select from the gallery, and I've done that on other examples. So pretty cool there. All right, let's keep going. So I will put a couple labels in just so it's not totally confusing. I'll just call that participant. And then copy that, and we'll say subject. And we'll do one more and put them as, and we'll say comments. The subject, we'll just do a text input. And I'll take that. I don't like any default text in there, but I'll typically set the hint text. Enter your subject. And then for comment, we'll do the very same thing. Since I did straight plain text as I set it up in SharePoint. If I wanted it to be rich text, then I could do it as a rich text box, but I set it as plain text. Again, I'll get rid of that. Go to my hint text. Enter any comments. And then I'll be sure to change this to be multiple line. Oh, actually I can do it here, so I don't have to that in. I'll say multi-line like that. And I would normally do some error checking but I'm not going to do that today because I don't want this video to be any longer, and that's not the main point I want to show. Actually, I'll do this, and let's line this up with that so everything's all lined up. There we go. I'll work that in existing appointments in a minute. So we'll say confirm appointment. Make this nice and wide. There we go. And what are we going to do here? Well, we're going to patch. We covered that before, but again, I would do some logic here, but I'm not going to check. This is where I check to see if they did everything. But I'm going to patch my reservations. How am I going to know which one I want to do? Well, I'm going to do the ID equals var, remember that selected appointment, dot ID, and actually that'll be, I need to look up first. That'll be look up reservations. And then my condition will be the ID equals. So that will give us the one that's been selected. And then now I need to say what I'm going to do. Okay, so I'm going to take, I already know the appointment and all that, so I'm just going to take the subject equals, and I really should rename these real quick because I hate that text one and stuff. So let's find which is which so I know which one's going on. So I'll just call this comments box, and we'll call this subject box. And we'll come back over here. So this will be subject box dot text, and then comment. Remember, those are the SharePoint columns, and then I do the value comment box dot text. We're going to do more, but let's make sure that's right. Oh, comments box. Oh, I got an extra quote there. Okay, and we know it's right if we get that in it. Oops. All right, so the other thing we want to set is our status. This can be a little tricky. So we can try to do it like that, but I usually get an error, what you see we're getting there, because it wants it to be a record and we're putting it as text because it's that choice column. So here's what I end up doing. There's probably a better way to do it, but I find it useful to just, in this case, I don't want to give them a choice, but I'll still use a drop down. So I'll just say a drop down. And I'm going to actually want two of these because when we go to modify it, I'm going to want it back. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say the items are choices, reservations, dot status. So if we look at that, that will give us available and booked. So we're close, but I want to set the default value of that. Set this one to available. And then I'm going to duplicate that. And I'm going to hide these, which is why why they're kind of out of place over here. And I'm going to rename this, and I'll just say book status box. And this will be available status box. So if you know a better way to do this, put it in the comments. I'd love to hear it. This just I just ran into this the other day, and it's a bit of a hack, I think, but yeah. So we'll call this booked here. And the other thing is I don't really like referring to these directly, so let's go ahead and do on the on start. So we'll click on app here and say on start. And I'll go ahead and set a variable. So I'll just say set var available status, and we'll call it available status box selected text. Whoops. I'll just copy that, and we'll do similar for the book status. Now when you do it this way, we want to make sure that we run the on start when we're testing it, or we can run into problems because we won't have set this yet. There we go. Format text. All right, looks good. Maybe just right now we'll run the on start just to make sure we don't forget. Then I can hide these two. So they're just kind of hanging out to help us out. All right, so let's go back over here. And now instead of that, we'll use that variable, var booked status. Now we don't have that problem anymore. So let's save this. I haven't actually saved it yet. And let's try it. So let's just pick like the second one. It already gave me the who I want to select, so I put that in there. I'll just say test subject, test comments, and we'll confirm appointment. So we got what we expected. Notice that one went off the list. If we go over here and reload, oh, you say it did already. So we got the test subject, test comments. Oh yeah, but I forgot one of the things, I didn't do my participant, so I'm not quite there yet. So I'm just going to edit this one so we can deal with it again. So I'm just going to get rid of these two. I'm going to change this back to available, and then it'll come back. So we'll finish that off. I didn't get there. And what I have to do with the person type column, I always just copy this over here. So if you haven't done that before, it looks like I lost the closing bracket, but I'll put it in. So you just have to kind of look that up. Oh, I went to the wrong sample, didn't I? Okay. All right, so let's go in and come back. I forgot to write the participant. So let's do that. And that's where it's got its own type. And these are kind of messed up because I copied some other code here. But we want to grab the selected item, so we called this, it's like I didn't rename it, combo box 1. So let's rename that, and we'll call it participant. There we go, and it changed that for us. Let's go. Let's change this. We'll say participant and then this will be male, like that. So all of this will be basically select. Right before I had a var recipient, and I just need to put these in. So the department and the job title, like that. This often happens where you've got a bit of a thing. So let me pause for a minute. I'll find what the error is and come back and tell you, but we're close. All right, I'm back. That's looks like I didn't want to use selected items. I wanted to use selected item. Let me fix this box here. So let me show it to you again. So I went back to the combo box and I handled the onSelect event, kind of like we did before, and I made a new variable var participant, and then I used the participant box dot selected rather than selected items, even though it seemed to be a type person, it still didn't work right. So then when we come back here, I use that same code we were doing, but I used this var participant, email, display name, department, and so forth. So now it doesn't give me any more errors. So let's try that again. So we'll run the, well, I actually did the onStart, but we'll do it again just to be sure. I'm going to go ahead and refresh my data. And when I refresh it, that one that we were missing should come back, which it did. So let's just pick one. Again, maybe I'll pick my brother instead, just to show it can be a different one. And by the way, I should set these to clear them on the way in, but we can do that. So I'm just saying, I'll leave it test subject, test comments, confirm appointment. Let's see if that worked. It didn't actually look like it worked because this should have disappeared when we did it. Let's try it again. So it doesn't seem to have done anything. Let's refresh. Nope. Let's go see if we can spot the problem. Yeah, you see a little error. So even though it looked like it worked, it didn't. I'm not seeing any kind of error message. But it didn't work, and it gives a little line here. Sometimes when I've got my screen smaller, I can't see all the stuff. So let's go over here and see if it gives us any idea. So it says runtime. The requested operation is invalid. Let's see if it tells us anything else. Oh, specified user. I think it didn't like my brother. He's kind of a guest user or whatever. So let me just try setting it to myself and see if that does it. So I got my own personal Office 365 license here. So only mine's really a true one. Let's see if that one does it. Ah, yeah. So it just didn't. That user couldn't come through as a person in SharePoint. So let's go over and look, and it's like if I reload here. All right, got that, and it put the participant, which is nice. Okay, good deal. All right, I know video's going a little long, but we got most of what we want going on. But let's go over and talk about the existing appointments. All right, so the first thing, I've already set up a screen for us to do, but we've got this existing appointment button. So the first thing we want to do is we only want that button to show if they already have an existing appointment. So let's go over to the visible property. And this, I had to think a little bit about there. You really are trying to say, okay, we want to count or figure out a way. We only want this to be visible if there's an existing reservation, either for me as a modified by or as a participant. Okay, and so I thought of different ways to do it, but this is the best way I could come up with. So there's a count if function. So I'm going to count, and then I'm going to count reservations. But the nice thing about the count if is we've got conditions on here. So we basically have an or. So the first thing is we want the participant dot email. Oh yeah, and there was something else I wanted to do. Let's go back to our onStart, because I end up looking at the user quite a bit, the user's email specifically. So I'm going to make a new variable here, and I'm just going to I'm going to call it var user email, and I'm going to use the user function dot email, like that, and format that. There we go. And I'm going to run on start again, just make sure that's set. So if I come back over here, oh, and this is it's kind of an error state here, so let's find that button, by the way. We can rename that while we're at it. We'll just call that Save button. And we've got another button, which is that one. And we'll call that Modify button. Alright, so that's the one we want. So we want if the participant email equals var user email, or modified by, that's a person as well. So they call this mail, or it is email, if that's equal to the var user email. And so that's one condition. And then we also want, so we want to and, that's why I put that in parentheses, we want the status dot value equals booked. Notice I don't use my status there because that other one's more of a record, the var book status. So we just want the text of it since I said status value there. So that whole thing is the count, and you can see it's telling us the value today is 1, so that's great. The visible if it's greater than 0. So if they don't have any, it'll be 0. So now let's keep this because we're going to use this also in our gallery in a minute. But you can see today, that will be true, which is what I want because I'm both the modified by and the participant, since I'm the one who created the account. But normally what will happen is one person will create all the appointments and they won't be the ones booking them. So that won't be the modified person. All right, so let's go over, and I'm actually going to paste that into Notepad for a minute. Because I've got some other stuff to copy. So let's go over, and I'm going to copy this gallery. I actually want most of this already. I don't want the participant, but I want that to all copy. And we'll grab that as well. So I could have just duplicated the screen, but since I already have the thing in there, we'll just paste that in. And we'll call this the, instead of gallery 1, we'll just rename it and call it the existing appointments gallery. And this will change it to, let's do it here. Call it update appointment. And I'm going to do one more. I'm going to call this delete appointment. We'll get rid of that. And we'll figure out what to do on that. Now let's go to this. So we want to go to the items. And what we want to do is we want to filter on reservations. And we probably could leave this and appointment date now as actually a pretty good. We should probably add that to the other one. But let's paste. Let's go back over and grab our notepad. So let's do that. And actually, I got some sort of get rid of this appointment date for now, out of now, just to make sure that, yeah, so that one was okay. Oops. Nope. So I got this parentheses. Oh, there we go. And let's go ahead and put our thing back in, because we really don't want it. If it's in the past, no sense modifying it either. So that looks good. And notice it just has the one appointment that I just booked. And so for this part, we'd want to say default. Oh, actually we need to change the on select here, because it's using we don't want the same variable. So we'll call our selected modified appointment. So copy that, and then this default will be that dot subject, and this will be that dot comments. So if they play, click it, then it goes like that. There's some more text we can do to make sure that it automatically selects the first one, but I'm not going to take the time on that. All right, so what are we going to do on these two? Actually, I got one more thing to change just to make sure it's exactly right. This should have oops, didn't keep that, but it was and appointment date is greater than now. Yeah, there we go. So that will also use the exact same logic, so that if it's in the past, it still won't show the button. All right, so let's get, this should be the delete. Now this one, and this one should be update appointment. Now on the delete, it's a little hard because in searching, there's really no way to wipe out the participant, at least. So if you do know the way, let me know, but at least best I can find. But this is where the status can come help us a lot. So let's go to the on select. So we're gonna, and this should be selected modified appointment. Go with that. What I name that actually. Let's try it again. Oh, it went off my screen again, so I can't see it down there. Yeah, there we go. And then these we're just going to wipe out when they delete it. We're just going to wipe out the subject, wipe out the text, and this is where I'm going to use that available status. I'm just going to set it back. And then I'd like to wipe out the participant, but I can't get that to work, so I'll just get rid of that completely. And it'll just be the fact that the participant will be there, but you can't. We're not going to be viewing it. So when they set it to somebody else, once that gets booked, that will work just fine. And it looks like I got rid of one too many brackets. So that looks good. Let's go over to this one on the on select. And this should see, whoops, I went off the screen again, but that's all right. That big so I can get it out of there again. And I need to do some renaming, because this should be updated comments box and updated subject box. Good, and it update that for us. We don't actually need to change the status because it's already booked, so we can take that out. And we're not allowing them to change the participant. So we'll actually get rid of that as well. If the idea would be if you change a participant, you should just cancel it and go select it again. But it will allow to change if they wanted to change the subject or the comments. All right. Let's try that. So let's go back to home. Actually, we'll run on start just to be sure. Go back to home. You can click these. I do need to clear these out so that they don't have the old data in it, but we'll just say, okay, I'm going to do one more. I'll just say it. Appointment 2. Comments 2. I'll confirm appointment. That one goes away. I go to existing appointments. Oh, I didn't put any navigation, did I? Let's go in. I did the visible, but I didn't do the on select. So we'll say navigate. And we'll say, what's the name of that? To modify appointment. Not sure what that was. And while we're at it, I should give us a way to get back, so we'll just put the, I'll grab an icon. Where'd my icon go? Put that up there. We'll say navigate. And really, we probably should put that after we do either one of these. We probably want to go back to the home. So there we go. So we're there. We'll go to existing appointments. Shows which one. Let's just update one. So we'll just call it modified subject and modified comments. So we'll update that appointment. Still nothing new there. So let's just go and make sure that it modified it. Yep, you can see it there, modified subject, modified comments. It's still booked. Now let's go back to existing one, and let's take this guy and we'll delete it. There we go. And it went back, and now that deleted one is back for us. I think it was that one there, back for us to set up. And again, we should clear those on the way in. But if we reload, you can kind of see we have deleted. Notice the participant, so that's the one right there. It's back available, but it has a participant because we couldn't delete it. But we'll be able to add a new participant. So, all right, awfully long video, but hopefully you can get some value out of that. It was kind of an interesting challenge where we had to do this recently, and gives us a way to book these appointments without anybody seeing like who's in the other appointment, you know, where it would be if you let them straight into the SharePoint list. They could go look at who's doing what, but here it just shows what the appointments are available. You can set up somebody for them, and then, you know, it goes off the list. So have a great day, and we'll see you next time.